everybody, welcome back to the Scott Wingerter Show. So I don't know if you've been paying attention or if you've been living life under a rock, but currently in the United States of America, our universities are erupting with pro-Palestinian protests. Basically, they're claiming that they're there to protest Israel and to stop the genocide that Israel is conducting against the Palestinians, which is a bunch of bullcrap, if you ask me. However, I think it's really an important thing to pay attention to. This was reminding me an awful lot of what life was like in the summer of 2020, the last presidential election season that we were in, with the BLM protests, right? Like, it's just going everywhere in every city. Soon it'll be at a college campus near you, right? Now we're shifting focus to pro-Palestinian protests, which is absurd on its face. You know, I've seen a lot of like LGBTQ people or gays for Palestine. It's like, okay, if you guys left America and went to Palestine and started protesting in favor of Hamas and the Palestinians, and they found out that you were homosexuals, they would throw you off of buildings because that's what they do. That happens all throughout the Islamic world. Iran, it would definitely happen in a place like Palestine. Trust me, they would not take kindly to people that, you know, were attracted to the same sex. They're not a liberal society. They're Islamic fundamentalists. And the Quran says that homosexuality is, you know, so sinful that you have to take extreme measures like throwing people off of buildings when they, you know, are homosexuals. So it's just absurd on its face to me that the left is partnering with, like I said in my previous video, the real fascists. These Islamic terrorists are Nazis. They're calling for the destruction of the Jews. You don't get more Nazi than that. And what it really boils down to is I don't think that, despite the fact that these people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to these colleges, and yeah, maybe hopefully they're thinking to themselves, I hope America just pays for my college education. However, they're still going to these liberal institutions, these woke institutions, and they're really learning nothing. They don't even know what they're protesting, as you can see here.
And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU's doing?
About what?
About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated.
I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia and we came down. They said NYU students needed our support. So I came down. I heard there's lots of cops. Some people were saying it was getting dangerous.
Bravo. That's just the kind of highly educated person that I would expect at this time from one of our high Ivy League institutions, right? The girl had no idea why she's even there. I've never really gone to a protest before, but I would think that if I did, I would at least know the reason why I got out of bed and went there, right? This woman is a ridiculous person, and that's why she went viral. So good for you, honey. You went viral. But this just proves my point. You know, the college campus life in America, you can tell these people have no idea what they're even talking about. They're not educated, and they're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go to these institutions in order to not even get an education. And so to prove my point, I love Charlie Kirk. I love when he goes on these college campuses with Turning Point USA. And so I'm going to prove my point here with this Charlie Kirk video here that we're going to watch. And we're going to take it away right now. Girl proves exactly why college is a scam.
I was hoping we could talk a little bit more about how you see college as a scam.
Okay, I think we did that, but sure. So,
if you want to talk about something else, we can talk about something else. I was just curious.
Okay. what would you like to pinpoint on that?
Yeah, well, I think a big part of your issue is that people are spending a lot of money and that you feel like they're not getting the equivalent of all the money that they go into debt or that they have to borrow to make it worth it. Well, in that case, I think education is really awesome. I think it's really valuable. I think education's the only way that someone like you is able to write a book is because someone taught you how to read and write. And education on all levels is great. So that's not that one. I don't think that's your issue with college, right?
Do you know where I went to college?
I don't think that's important right now. Let me just.
I didn't.
I'm just talking I said read and write, like who taught you to read?
No, I agree. I didn't say grade school's a scam.
Can we just keep going? All right.
I said college is a scam, not grade school.
Right.
Keep going.
So we're talking about the financial part, right? So do you think that college should be free then so that everybody can get like a free education?
No.
Why
and
not?
By the way, what's happening in college is not an education.
Well, okay. You don't think that college should be free because it's not an education? If it was
no.
Wait. If
Both,
it was an
for both.
education in your eyes, would you think that should be free, or
What do you mean by free? You mean paid by somebody else?
Well, sure, taxpayer dollars would go to pay for it.
So paid by somebody else.
Right, because I hate to break it to you, sweetheart. There's no such thing as a free lunch, okay? Just because it's, quote, free for you doesn't make it free. There is nothing on this earth that is free. The air you breathe is there because a plant excreted oxygen out after consuming the carbon dioxide that we breathe out, all right? Everything comes at a cost. It's a fact of the universe. You can't get around it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And there's no such thing as free education either.
Sure.
Sure. No, I don't believe that your schooling should be paid by somebody else.
I want my taxes to go to schooling for everybody. I think education's great. I don't want my taxes to go to fund wars. I don't want my taxes to go to the military or the police budget, but I don't get to pick.
You don't want any military?
I don't think that it should go to fund the military like that. I want my taxes.
You don't want any police force?
I want my taxes to go towards education because I think education is valuable. Do you think that education should be paid for?
So define education. I'm curious.
Sure, it's just the, I would probably say that education right now.
I would probably say, oh, you mean you don't know? You can tell by her body, like I was an interrogation analyst, okay? I can tell by her body language right here. You know, she looks up and she goes, oh, geez, I've never actually thought about what education is. I'm just advocating that it should be free. I think probably education is, yeah, you never thought about what education actually is, and you're going to sit here and grandstand in front of us trying to tell us why we should pay for your education. You don't even know what it is.
Now is the ability to go out and learn different mindsets, to be introduced to different subjects, to have the opportunities to talk about these things with a lot of different kinds of people. I think that's the really cool part about college. Someone like you can come here and have different opinions. My history teacher just talked about how he does this whole I'm a conservative, old school conservative act, and then one of my other teachers, she's like, I'm a bleeding hippie, you know? There's a lot of opportunities to just be introduced to subjects you didn't even know were a thing. I didn't know that semiotics was a thing until my last philosophy class, and I think that's really interesting.
That is not education at all. I am a professional educator. I can give you a very clear definition of what education actually is. There's basically two things going on in the world, okay, that a person needs to understand in order to be an educated person. You have the things that are going on in the natural world, okay? So we're talking about what happens when I take this bottle of water and I let go. Oh, the law of gravity, that happens. It falls, all right? That is the natural sciences, okay? Physics, chemistry, biology, etc. You can throw mathematics into that if you want. It's a science, right? And then you have basically the liberal arts, which is understanding mankind, understanding what it means to be human. So in order to be an educated person, you need to understand what it means to be a human and how that works. And you need to understand the world in which humans live in and how that works. You do those two things and you're educated. This person is a silly person who has not really ever considered any of the things that I'm talking about. How do I know that? Well, because she just talked to us and told us basically you should go out into the world in order to basically just suck up as many opinions as you can. Because, that's this person's opinion and that's this person's opinion. And yeah, there's some value to that, but that's not real. You're missing the mark. It's going to become pretty clear here, I think, that she thinks that truth is relative. I think that's about to come out here in this video. She's about to make an argument that there's no such thing as objective truth, that there's no such thing as objective goodness, and I'm sure that's the rabbit hole we're about to fall down here. Let's see if I'm right.
So just the idea that you get to go out to this place and you get to get taught about a bunch of different ideas. Are you against that being available for everyone?
Oh, I have a completely different view of what education is. So education in Latin means to lead forth.
Yes.
Okay.
Your idea of education is the New Age, which is we're going to have like a buffet line of postmodern ideas and all ideas are treated the same. I don't believe that at all. College means partnership in Greek.
Yes.
And going back to education, you must lead forth towards something. And I think college should lead you towards the good, the true, and the beautiful.
Okay.
It should lead you towards things.
You think it should lead towards
the transcendentals, okay? Those are the things that are really important. This goes all the way back to Greek philosophy. This goes back to Socrates, as Plato's writing about it. It goes, you can find this in the Republic. You can find this in Aristotle's writing. The idea of forms, right? That if you're going to pursue knowledge, as you're going out there, as you're leading forward, right, which is what education means, as Charlie just pointed out, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to make sense of the world, the natural world in which you live in, and you're trying to understand who you are as a human being. Know thyself, right? And how do you do that? Well, in order to have any inquiry whatsoever in your life, there has to be some things that are basically there that you take on face value. If there's no such thing as objective truth, then your inquiry is useless. You can't find anything out about the world, about who human beings are. You can't do it. You have to start at a place where there is at least an understanding that there is such thing as objective truth. There is such thing as objective goodness, and there is such thing as objective beauty. All right? She's about to criticize the idea that there's such thing as objective beauty. So let's watch.
beautiful things?
Of course.
Like beautiful things? Like you think that we should go out after college and be like, where's the prettiest thing that's
If
around
your idea
me?
of beauty is just the aesthetic, then you're not having a great college experience.
What's your idea of beauty? My bad.
That
my
which
bad.
is perfected in being.
Okay, so you really like the...
That which is perfected in being. This is going right back to what I just talked about when we're discussing forms. I have right here a water bottle, right? This water bottle, okay, is it the perfect water bottle? You know, does this embody all the things that make a water bottle? Does it have all the qualities of water bottleness? Well, no. Is it a good water bottle? Yes. How do I know it's a good water bottle? Well, does it achieve its purpose? What's its purpose? What's the purpose of a water bottle? The purpose of a water bottle is to hold liquid. Is it doing that? Yes. Then it's a good one. All right. It may not be the best one out there. You know, I have other water bottles at home made out of metal. They chill your water for longer, tastes better than this plastic cheap water bottle from Walmart. But, you know, they both do and achieve their purpose. If I drill a hole in this, it's no longer a good water bottle because it's not fulfilling its purpose. All right. So that's how we know what the definition of goodness is. Well, I'll continue.
The Greek ideas and like the Roman ideas of like the the idea of perfection and perfect harmony? Because that's like a very Greek and Roman way of
Well, it's
approaching.
Western, which is the civilization we currently live in.
Okay, but that
let me
stems
finish.
from Greek and Roman
Of course, you're right.
ideologies.
So the good, the true, and the beautiful are the three things that every college student should grapple with.
Yes.
Do you think in this current university that is what you're currently grappling with? That the focus of your education is enriching yourself to get closer to what is good, what is true, and beautiful?
See, I don't engage with you on the ideas that good, true, and beautiful are something that can be defined and something that can be taught.
You're perfect evidence of why I think college is a scam.
Why do you... Wait, I don't...
Because of course they could be defined and they should be sought after.
Okay, so you think that something like the beautiful, the perfect... Like
Yes.
something like goodness can be defined in quantifiable, teachable... Oh, because you're Christian, I forgot. You guys think
Yes.
that there's like
Yes,
a
the-
binary to
Well, no,
goodness.
there's a hierarchy, not a binary.
Yes,
There's an
that's
ultimate
important.
perfection. The ultimate
Okay.
perfection would be that there's a creator who loves you, who
Okay.
made you in his image and loved you so much to come down and take the broken flesh form, live a perfect life, die and rise from the dead so that you might live forever. There is nothing more perfect, good, true, or beautiful than that.
Amen.
Okay, so
And, I can use another example. This comes right out of Aristotle's Ethics, Nicomachean Ethics, which is the best self-help book ever written. He talks about this like right away, page 1. Every art, every science, and every inquiry aims at some good. In other words, how do we define goodness? By purpose. So everything that you do ends up aiming at some purpose. You don't do things without purpose unless you're a stupid freaking college student that doesn't know why you're at a pro-Palestinian protest. That's what makes you an idiot. But everything that you do, he talks about bridle making right away. He says, the purpose of the bridle is to steer the horse. And it's really important to be able to steer the horse because you can use the horse for battle. And when you use a horse in battle, then you're able to win that battle. And if you're able to win the battles, you're able to win the war. And it's really important that you win the war because if we don't win the war, the enemy is going to come into our city and they're going to enslave us. They're going to take our property. They're going to kill us and do all sorts of bad things. So it's super important that we have the bridle in order to ride the horse into battle in order to win the battle and win the war. That's the hierarchy that Charlie Kirk was just referring to. That is very classical, and it demonstrates that despite the fact that he didn't go to college, Charlie Kirk is far more educated than this young lady.
So I don't really engage with religion like that, but what about just the idea that you get to go to a place, you get taught about different subjects, you get the opportunity, okay, I'm sorry, because you don't have access to all these things wherever you come from. You get the opportunity to talk to people who know a lot about these different subjects and get to learn about that. You don't think that
No,
should be free or like provided
First of all, I
for?
don't think it should be free, and I don't think that's what education should be or what it once was when it was at its best.
Yes.
When do you think it was at its best? Because we have like the Indian Golden House of, I think it was called the
Okay.
Baghdad Golden House of Wisdom. We have the Greek and Roman, and they had their whole thing about how you have to learn astrology at the same time as learning your education.
Yes.
We
Correct.
have like so many different points of learning and knowledge. I think people just love to learn. I think learning is inherent to what we want to do with our lives.
Correct.
So two thoughts. That is the first line of Aristotle's Metaphysics, which is
Yes.
all people seek to know, that
Exactly.
something within us wants to learn. So to answer your question, when was education at its best? It
No,
at
that
its-
was you were the one
Can
who
I
was like,
finish?
education is not at their best here. You're like, this is your new age bullshit. Like,
it is. So, but
so
let
when
me-
was it good?
I was about to say that, and you interrupted me again.
Oh,
Okay.
my bad. I'm
All
sorry.
right. So it was at its best when we had a thing called classical education here in America, specifically around the American founding. Classical education has a prioritization on Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle,
Yes.
and the core canon of Greek thinking, which is that there is an abstract, distant good,
Yes.
the logos, which created the world, right? I want to try to find out more about what that is.
So you think that
So understand this. Understand that this idea of the hierarchy, like I just went through, that it's the logos, that's the perfected form. So when I said like this doesn't have all of the qualities of water bottleness to make it the form the perfect idea of water bottleness, right? This isn't the logos of all water bottles, right? But there is that idea out there. It's a very abstract idea, but that's what we're pursuing, right? Is an understanding of what things should be, how things ought to be. And that translates into your whole moral education. When we talk about classical education, understand this. Classical, think about what things we call classic. What makes something a classic car? Is a 1969 Ford Mustang a classic? Yeah, it is. Why? Well, because it's pretty great. That's why. Or Coke Classic, right? Or classic rock. We use this term classic to basically demonstrate a thing's greatness, okay? Classical, the word itself, if you go back and you study the history, the etymology of the word, classical is a naval term, all right? It is used for navies, ships, right? Ships are really, really expensive investments into your military, all right? You're not just going to take some schmuck off the street and put them on your ship. No. You're going to take the best, okay, that you have, and you're going to put them on your ship. You're going to take the schmucks off the street, and they're going to be your infantry, all right? Your cannon fodder, your soldiers, right? But you take your best, and you put them in charge of your really expensive ships. So that is the definition of classical. Classical means best, all right? Prior to about 100 years ago, we didn't even refer to this kind of education as classical education because it was just education. It was a liberal education. And I know for my conservative brothers and sisters out there, liberal's the equivalent of a 4-letter word. However, in this context, it comes from the Latin word liberalis, which means where we get the word liberty. It's the kind of education that sets you free as an individual and not this collective group think that we get with our modern education system. And that is clearly demonstrated here as this girl continues to demonstrate her utter ignorance about anything of importance.
So you think that education should revolve around ethics then? You think it should be teaching people?
Well, it's a big part of education. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that creating good people should be the #1 priority of education.
Okay.
Do you guys think that creating good people is a priority at Cal State Fullerton?
I don't think that is really a thing that you can achieve with a pointed. I don't think there's a way to really teach somebody being a good person is so hard, and it involves so many different factors.
I could prove to you how we could do it.
We're getting a little bit too general with things because the Greeks and the Romans, they were really they had a lot of beliefs, okay? Plato and Aristotle were not let's do the most good. They were not all in agreement about all these different things. They had a lot of different
They had a teacher-student relationship. But let me ask you a question. Do you think people would commit more crimes or less crimes if they knew that a police officer was watching them at all times?
I don't think this is what we're talking about, bro.
You said you cannot teach people good. I'm asking a question. Mm-hmm. If somebody thought that somebody was watching their actions, would they behave differently?
I think that people behave differently when people watch
therefore,
their actions.
if society thought that there was a God that was watching all of their actions, would they behave differently?
Do you feel like you behave better when someone is watching your actions?
Absolutely. And in fact, So
you feel like you can't be good without someone there to observe
it's not a matter of you can't be good. Is that you act better if you think that there is somebody watching and judging your actions.
That feels really unfortunate for you because I want to do good because I think it's better for the people around me, not because...
Didn't she just say, Mr. Producer Jordan, didn't she just say that we can't define goodness? If we can't define goodness, then how is it that you try to be a good person for the people around you? I would deduce that you think that is, are you ready for this? Good, a good thing to do. Sounds like we're all of a sudden believing in an objective definition of that which is good.
because someone's watching me.
Hold
That's
on.
like the ideas of the panopticon.
Well,
you
hold on
know?
a second. But if you believe that somebody is always watching your behavior, you'd be less likely to lie, less likely to steal, less likely to cheat. And this is a good question because you're coming after this in good faith. Do you think human beings are generally naturally good or generally not so good? Are we flawed from our birth, or are we good, or are we a blank slate?
So you're bringing up these Christian ideas of good again. I don't think we really come to the same synthesis on what a good person is.
Okay,
I feel like
was Hitler good?
I feel like, again, you're not listening to me. I
Pretty
feel like we
simple
don't
question.
come to the same synthesis about
Well, no,
what
I think
good
we will, though.
is, because for me, I think that something like good is, again, the question of ethics. It's not really a question of education, right? So you have to decide
but super simple. It's
what
not a
people
trick question.
decide for themselves is good is different, right? So Hitler thought what he was doing was good for his people. We do not see his actions as good because he was pretty awful to a lot of people.
Right. Agreed. That's what Nicomachean Ethics says, right? Every art, every science, and every inquiry aims at some good, right? Hitler woke up one day and he said, you know, it would be a good thing if we killed 6 million Jews. Now, you and I can stand back and say, yeah, I don't think that's such a good thing. How are we able to do that? Well, because we have an ethical, moral education. We know that's not good, even if Hitler thinks it is. So this whole subjectivity that every idea is equal, that, I guess we're just going to have to disagree on that point, Mr. Hitler. I don't think that would be good, but your idea is perfectly valid. We should kill all the Jews. All right, we'll consider that. No, that's evil. That's bad. I can say with 100% accuracy that anybody that wants to murder all of the Jews on planet Earth, they're objectively evil. I'm looking at you, pro-Palestinian college students.
But when we turn things into an ethical question,
Wait.
he may see it as doing good for himself and God, because yes, a lot of people believe they're doing good for God, even if that thing is killing people.
Was Hitler doing something objectively wrong?
Which thing are you talking about? You're talking about the
concentration
genocide?
camps.
No, I don't like the concentration camps, believe it or not.
good.
But hold on, you don't like. So was that objectively bad?
Objectively bad. I do think that hurting people is objectively bad.
Okay, so now
Okay.
we're believing in bad. So then good. There's a spectrum now. You said objectively bad. So you now just said there's a spectrum. It's not a matter of, well, somebody wanted to do some good for yourself. No. Now there's a spectrum. Concentration camp bad. So then let's get away from that. How about Mother Teresa? Good?
Are you talking about her actions in trying to help the poor?
Hundreds of thousands of poor people that were saved in India and Calcutta thanks to her sacrificial work over 30 years.
Right.
I don't know Mother Teresa like that, but can
just
we
take
go
what
back
I just
to
said for-
I feel like we've gotten really off track.
No,
for
no,
one,
actually,
you're
you're
talking
talking about the most important thing because
hey, dude, you're interrupting me again.
well, it is kind of our table. So,
So you can interrupt me, but I can't interrupt you.
Hold on. The fact you can't answer this question shows that college is a scam. Because
What?
if you can't say that Mother Teresa good and Hitler
Mother
bad,
Teresa denied anesthetics to people who were in serious pain because she thought the suffering would bring them closer to God. I think a lot of what she did
Highly
could be
doubt that
considered
to be true.
Okay,
but I'll take it.
whatever. We can't just reference random things and use that because
There's no such thing as random, sweetheart. I'm going to quote, because you have problems, obviously, with Christian philosophers. Let me go ahead and quote you an atheist one. Voltaire said that the word that we use to describe chance is nothing more than an unknown cause for a known effect.
now we're talking about ideologies. Again, I find that what I consider to be good revolves more around the fact that humans are social creatures, and generally pro-social attitudes of promoting collectivism tends to be better for people just because that's in our evolutionary nature.
Is
but
it?
you are a Christian, so you believe that there's a guy watching you, and that's what makes you do good. You're
No,
like,
it's not.
if someone's
That is
watching
a-
me, I am more likely
No.
to be nice. But
Hold
I
on.
want to be nice
There's a lot
because
of other,
I like
there's
how
other
other people
reasons to do
react
good.
to
I was
them.
asked.
Hold on one second, okay? So you get this a lot when you debate these people, specifically about the idea of objective goodness, right? She's going to make the argument, and you'll see this a lot, that, well, you don't need to have sort of this moral law, right? So the argument is this. if there is such thing as the moral law, then there must be a moral lawgiver. And because mankind is all jacked up and flawed and sinful, and we have this fallen, disgusting human nature, right, where we will try to screw each other over if we have the opportunity to do so, left to our own devices. Like, I've never met a 2-year-old that wouldn't murder you for an apple if they were able to do it when they were throwing a fit, right? That's human nature, okay? She's going to make the argument that basically, well, it's just our societal structures, right? So it's good for the entire society if we can all agree to things like the golden rule and everything like that. So it's more of an evolutionary process where we recognize that we survive better if we collectively all sort of agree on the basic rules, like don't murder people, don't rape people, don't steal other people's stuff, etc. Right? The problem is, what did she say? What's the crux of her argument? Oh, it's objectively good if we do that in society. Well, now we're right back to square one. So there is such thing as objective goodness then. Okay.
I was asking the question would you be more or less likely to shoplift if a police officer was next to you in a department store? It's a very simple ethical question.
But how does that make me good or not? That just makes me worried about consequences. No, it makes me worried about consequences, you little faced man.
If you do not have consequences.
But consequences.
Oh, I love it when they start slinging mud. All right, so don't ever sling mud, right? 2 things happen when you sling mud. Number 1, you get your hands dirty. Number 2, you lose a lot of ground. I teach my students this all the time. If you insult somebody by calling them a tiny-faced man, you just lost the debate, sweetheart. Not that you were doing great beforehand.
This does not determine ethics.
The mark of an intellectual fool is throwing around pejoratives when they don't have wisdom. Remember that. So the question is this. If you do not believe there's a consequence to your action, why wouldn't you do the action?
See, that's, again, the ideology of consequentialism. I don't really subscribe to that.
Yes, there should be consequences.
No, but I think that consequences, your actions can exist outside of a vacuum of consequences, right? We can't make our decisions based on whether or not we think the actions will lead to a certain outcome, because those will always be random, right? So I revolve more around we try to do things that we think will promote general pro-social attitudes. I think that is...
Don't forget, pro means for, which is the idea of goodness. Okay.
More likely to get us, other than worrying about that.
Let me ask you a hypothetical. This will tell me a lot. Is pedophilia wrong?
Pedophilia, I consider to be wrong because it is actively damaging someone else, right?
So that's bad.
But what if they say they're a minor attracted person and it's pro-social to be with a young person? Why are they wrong?
Do you know what pro-social means? Like, pro-social means, there's like pro-social and antisocial behaviors. It's like a theory of social psychology. Pro-social generally means like working together, socialization.
They're socializing with an 8-year-old. Why is that wrong?
Okay, that's not socializing and you know it. Antisocial behavior usually means doing things that are considered rejecting socialization, like rejecting other people, pushing things away, promoting things that other people actively end up considering less.
So then should pedophiles go to prison?
Pedophiles go to... I do not know what's the best way to handle pedophilia because how do we know... I don't think that anyone should molest a child, God forbid.
But hold on.
I really don't.
Why shouldn't a pedophile go to prison?
What? Again, we're getting really off topic. Let's go back to the ideas of good and evil and
we're
consequentialism.
Talking about college is a scam, and you're a perfect example, like one of the best I've ever seen to show the intellectual drivel that is caught on a college campus.
Okay, because you think that I'm not being taught about the good, the pure. Well, let's go back to that, because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, the good, the true. We'll do a couple more minutes. The good, the true, and the beautiful, yes.
Right, so you think that that's something that can be quantified, can be taught, and that it...
And experienced.
And not only that it should be taught, that we should promote the ideas of good and beauty to other people.
Correct.
Okay, but let's remove it from that. What about just the idea of... Because, remember, the ancient Greeks and Romans that you love so much, they didn't have the same ideas of God in the same way that we do. But they still... Thank you for saying I'm correct. That was really nice of you.
It's true, you're right.
So when they wanted to learn, when they sought out learning, when they had schools of learning and all that kind of stuff, A lot of the times, they didn't just teach things around ethics. They taught other stuff. They taught astrology, they taught medicine, they taught science, they taught arts, and people wanted to learn that. Do you think that that ability, that experience of going into a place and saying, can you teach me more about this subject? Can I learn? Can I expand my worldview? Can I get open to different beliefs? Do you think that that should not be paid for or not be compensated?
First of all, it should definitely not be paid for. Secondly, it depends if those disciplines are rooted in the pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty.
So you think only if they're tied into something that falls in your ideological worldview?
Can I finish? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If those disciplines are are rooted in the good, the true, and the beautiful, absolutely. Let me give you a hypothetical example.
Okay.
So if you go, I don't know if this school has one, but if they have some sort of center for like feminist ideology or some sort of do they have one here? Then that is not in the pursuit of what is good, true, and beautiful. That is in the pursuit of how I can complain and hate men and get a degree and be paid for that.
So there we have it. That is what our college campuses are like these days. We've seen the protests. We've seen them destroying buildings inside these college campuses. We've seen them camping out on the in tents on the common grounds and criminally trespassing. And we can see why they're engaging in this type of behavior. It's because they're uneducated fools. They should have been taught to act better. And they are clearly demonstrating through all of this that they just don't know what is good for them. All right. If you got any value out of that, if you enjoyed it, make sure that you hit that like, the follow button, the subscribe button, depending on what platform you're watching this on. We'd like to thank the Dockline for providing the space for us and all this equipment. And I want to hat tip to producer Jordan, who's just been doing a fantastic job. And please, if you disagree, I'd love to hear it in the comments. If you want to take me on, I would love to have our own little debate about all of these things. I think Charlie Kirk is absolutely right, and I think he completely destroyed that woman in the debate. All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.